It's one of the most iconic photos in Olympic history. Our Andrea Williams had a chance to speak with one of the men who raised their fist as a change leader and social activist. Andrea.
Hey there, Simone. Recently, I sat down with legendary Olympian Dr. John Carlos, who was honored at the 22nd Annual Fellowship Open. At 77, Dr. Carlos is still running for justice. He made history during the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, Mexico, when he took the international stage after winning the bronze medal to make a speechless statement seen and heard around the world.
I felt it was necessary to make a statement. And even greater, I felt it was more necessary that we have a collective, unified group to make the statement.
For many, this photo will forever serve as one of the most resounding expressions of human rights injustice and American social activism. They were determined to take a stand against racism in the U.S., racism in sports, as well as apartheid in South Africa. He was joined by his teammate, gold medalist Tommy Smith, and silver medalist Peter Norman of Australia, who wore an Olympic Project for Human Rights badge.
I thought about my mother coming as an immigrant from Cuba, my father coming in from the South just 30 years after slavery, you know. So all these things ran through my mind in terms of the gestures, the symbols that we wanted to put on.
Dr. Carlos and Tommy Smith decided about an hour and 40 minutes between the quarter semi and the finals that they would indeed take a stand. They wore black gloves with fists in the air and their heads bowed to reflect the strength of the human spirit. They also removed their shoes.
We didn't go out there with shoes because we was concerned about black poverty. That's why we all had black socks on.
The late Peter Norman's participation wasn't taken lightly.
He went to the extremes because if you sit back and you say we could have 9 million white athletes, and I doubt if we could have got another one that had the audacity, the nerve to step up and say, man, I'm in support of you.
In 2005, Dr. Carlos and Tommy Smith were honored by their alma mater, San Jose State University, with a statue depicting their brave gesture. But Peter Norman's image was missing, and that bothered Dr. Carlos, who called him on the phone.
He said, I supported you. I feel it's only appropriate that they put a tag there to say who I am and what my contribution was, but to leave it open. So anyone that comes from anywhere on planet Earth to come to San Jose State and want to be in that portrait, they can stand in my spot. That said volumes to me.
Each of the men faced backlash. Carlos and Smith were met with death threats in the U.S., and Norman was blacklisted by the Australian Olympic Committee. Their bravery and willingness to use their voices for change put them among the ranks of black athletes like Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Jim Brown.
To be with those individuals, I'm truly honored to be in the ranks of them. But I go beyond them. I think about Jack Johnson. I think about Harriet Tubman. I think about Rosa Parks. I think about anyone that cherished the cause for equality.
Dr. Carlos continues his lifelong mission to improve human rights conditions and credits scholastic encouragement and organized athletics for giving him the foundation and drive to succeed.
I just classify myself as a man, period. And I'm going to do manly things. I'm going to do what I feel is the right thing to do, regardless of what people might say, feel, or do.
So amazing. And you know, Simone, a lot of people don't know or even realize that after excelling in track and field, Dr. Carlos played in the NFL and Canadian Football League. So I don't know if there's anything he can't do.
That is pretty amazing. And Andrea, just to see that photo, a lot of us have seen that photo, but to hear from him the meaning behind the photo, the whole process and everything, and just the fact that we are continuing to have similar conversations. I know this is something that we had been talking about the Olympics even last year, people doing certain things to kind of stand up and say something.
Yeah, Dr. Carlos says he's looking for the next generation so he can pass the baton. So having him here and talking to young people meant a lot, for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly important to have that conversation. Andrea, great story.
Thank you.